Going for a dart, and we're live. Hashtag GFAD. Here's Mr. Dueck, everybody.
I have no idea what half of that meant. Okay. Adaptations, short little lesson. We've been talking about biomes. We said there are abiotic factors, non-biological factors that affect the biome, and there are biotic factors, living factors that affect the biome. We said abiotic, the two main ones, temperature and precipitation. Those abiotic affect the biotic, the life forms. So, life forms adapt. Adaptations, these are characteristics that enable organisms to better two keys: survive and reproduce. Life on Earth, A, wants to live, and B, wants to have more life. Those are its two main goals. There are three main types of adaptations. There are others, but we break them into roughly three groups. We have structural adaptations, physiological adaptations, and behavioral adaptations. Life forms adapt in three ways, three main ways. They adapt in many, many ways. We categorize them, Nicole, in three main ways. Structural, by the way, if you want ways to remember this, on the outside. Physiological are adaptations that occur on the inside. Behavioral are adaptations that occur in the brain. Let's look at some examples. So outside, inside, and up here really is what we're talking about. A structural adaptation, then, is a physical feature of an organism's body that has a specific function that contributes to their survival or their ability to reproduce. Example, penguins. Who doesn't like penguins? They're birds, but I'm willing to bet at one point in your life when you learned they were birds that seemed kind of weird, because as a little kid when you saw pictures of penguins, although they have beaks and they have sort of wings, their feathers don't look like what you think of as feathers. They have structural adaptations. So they have 4 layers of very scale-like feathers which overlap each other. These provide good protection from the wind, even blizzard conditions. How many of you have seen the documentary March of the Penguins that came out a few years ago, right? Great stuff there, and you really get an idea of some of their structural adaptations, yet at the same time, they're related to the robins in your backyard. Think about that. They're related to the hummingbirds in your backyard. Hummingbirds, penguins, they're birds. They've gone through some severe structural adaptations to survive in their environment. Porcupines have a structural adaptation. They're quills. Those help them survive. An Arctic fox has fur that changes color. In the summer, it's brown to blend in with the brown dirt. In the winter, what color is it? White to blend in with the snow. Not only is it white, it gets thicker and warmer. And in fact, many of you, if you have dogs that are descended from dogs up north, Samoyeds, Huskies, Malamutes, you'll notice they have a winter and a summer coat. Structural adaptations. Lots more. Lots more. Those are just some examples. Physiological adaptations. This is on the inside. So this is a physical or chemical event that occurs within the body of an organism that enables survival. As an example, wolves can maintain a constant body temperature to survive in both colder and warmer climates. Cactus, they're a plant. They have a chemical adaptation inside them Hayden, they require only about half the amount of water compared to regular plants, despite the fact that they're plants. It's not a structural, their structural adaptation, by the way, would be their quills of the cactus, because that helps prevent animals from eating them. That's a structural. But inside, there is something going on. They're able to do photosynthesis with way less water than the average plant. You think of some other examples of internal physiological adaptations? Plants or animals? Anything leap to mind? Chameleon? Yeah, I'd have to think about whether that was structural on the outside or physiological. Certainly the color changes, that has to be some kind of a chemical thing. So I think I would agree with that. That would be a good example. Okay? All sorts. The third type is behavioral adaptations. This is what an organism does or how it behaves. That's why we call it behavioral adaptations, to survive in the unique conditions of its environment. So some behavioral adaptations. Did I give you the notes? Emily, I gave you the notes? Okay. Oh. Here's a big behavioral adaptation. Birds migrate. Migration of birds. Why do they migrate? Yeah, that's for survival, right? If some birds, there are a few that do stick around all winter, and even up north there are some birds that can survive in the sub-zero temperatures. They have made structural adaptations, but most birds fly south for the winter. Another behavioral adaptation, bird calls. Most species have their own, in fact, all species of bird have their own unique call. That is designed both to help them survive. I can recognize that you're a member of my species, but also help them reproduce. I recognize that you're a member of my species. I did not know this. The burrowing owl actually hisses like a rattlesnake to scare off predators. So the burrowing owl is an owl that, yes, builds burrows, which would also be a behavioral adaptation. And it hisses. Another big one, a lot of animals do something in the winter. Yeah, hibernation. Some teenagers do too, Mr. Yeah, shut up.
I'm going into hibernation mode now.
Uh-huh.
Spot on.
Okay. So we have three main types of adaptations. Structural, think on the outside. Physiological, think on the inside. Behavioral, think up here in your brain. The behavioral one is because if it's a behavior, and you all know what that word means. The other ones are a bit more, there's some overlap. So when Miller said chameleon, I was, yeah, that's kind of structural and kind of physiological. There's good, you know, it's a little, we'll give you clear examples. Okay. And we've done some examples. That is section 1.1. What's your homework? It's going to be a short lesson today, but it's going to be lots to work on. So let me hand out the first part of the assignment. Can you turn in your textbook on page 20? You have a summary, generally a one-page summary, although some of them are two-page summaries, of the 8 biomes. And what I said to you, Brendan, is this. I said, you don't need to memorize the names, but you need to know the main characteristics of each. And the easiest way to do that is to take those, I think it's about 10 pages long. We're going to summarize them. So what I've done is I've created a 3x2, a 6-square grid for each biome. You don't have to fill in the name. So the first one is tundra, boreal forest, and on the next page, temperate deciduous forest, temperate rainforest, grasslands, tropical rainforest, desert, hot and cold, permanent ice or tundra. No, permanent ice is not tundra, permanent ice. Those are the 8 that the textbook talks about. What I would like you to do for the remainder of class is make your own little set of summarization notes. So you'll notice, are you all on page 20? Anybody don't have a textbook that they can look at? I need some collateral. I'll do a swappity. So I've explained the homework. Those of you that are particularly observant, none of you, no, some of you, you may say, hey, Mr. Dueck, I noticed at the bottom you said that. If you want to start that, that's the summary of this whole section. You can't, this is what we're going to be working on Monday. I'll probably do a short little mini lesson on Monday, but it's going to be, you can work on this. But if you know that you have already a bunch of homework next week, and you're saying, yeah, I can start it this weekend so that I don't have homework, it's up to you trying to balance your schedule. Eventually, you'll do page 33, numbers 1 to 14. But primarily right now, your goal by the end of today, hand that in. If you can finish that and hand that in, great. And then whittle away at that with the pencil crayons. Any questions at all? Let me pause the video.